What's up, guys? I know it's been a little bit since I've uploaded a video. Extremely busy. Like I said, got a ton of fuel tanks to weld together from our Black Friday sale, and I thought I was getting caught up, but it seems like we're selling 2 or 3 tanks a day, pretty consistent, so we're just maintaining at this point. But we did get Slick Rick's fuel tank back from laser cutting this morning, and I want to go ahead and get it welded together. And if I find a spare moment in the next few days, I'm going to try to get it in the car, get the support built around it so they can come get the car, and that project will be a wrap. But just showing you kind of how it goes together. All of our fuel tanks, we try to make them in as few amount of pieces as possible. Again, Joey draws all this up on CAD, and so here we have the, I guess this is the front piece, and then we have the back piece here, and then they go together just like a puzzle. So whenever we mock these things up, have to peel them off, wipe them off, tape them. You know the process from watching the other videos. But aluminum's real springy, so even if it's bent, perfect, it still sometimes has to be persuaded a little bit with some yellow tape before you get it tacked together. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to clean it up and tack it together, and then I'm going to get this thing completely welded up and just put it on the shelf for now until I get like I said, a few moments to get over there and actually get it mounted in the car. So let's get started cleaning it up and stuff. All right, so I got it welded up. These are, again, if you missed the details in the other videos, these are 12 ORB for the vent. They're gonna do a remote vent out away from the tank to just ensure that no fuel comes out during acceleration or anything, or splashes up against the bottom of the vent. We also have a 12 ORB for the return. You might have seen in the time lapse, I put a tube that goes down into the bottom of the tank, because depending on how much their pump is flowing, that return blowing over here to the vent, if they was to put the vent right on the top of the tank and just stop it here, I don't want it to be blowing against that vent across the top of the tank. It'd probably have to be returning a whole lot to do that, but that's just what it did. Got our standard billet RSM fuel cap, 4-inch. Just got it on here loose, so I don't have to really strain to get it off. It's sitting on the bench. You can see the return tube right there. I did not put a feed on this tank. After going back and forth with the guys, they might want to put it somewhere different. They ain't made up their mind yet, so they said just proceed with the tank design and they would put the feed in later. So the feed, I did get the fitting for that. It is going to be a 20 ORB. Set this down here. This thing is huge. Yeah, so 20, just the 20 AN size is pretty standard for any kind of big power car like this. I had a guy request a 24 the other day on a tank. I said, a 24 with only like a 3-gallon tank, that's kind of overkill. But ORB makes it really nice because you don't have to run an adapter fitting. They can be really low profile. I know these guys use Brown & Miller for their plumbing as well, and they make 90-degree fittings that are ORB right on the end of the hose. So it really keeps it clean, you know, being able to screw the 90 straight in there without having to have a fitting and then put a 90 on the fitting. So that's what they're going to do with this. So now we're going to finish this video probably another day. I'm going to put this thing on the shelf for now because I've got 6 vent tanks over there I'm going to try to get burned together today before I leave. Don't know if I will, but that's going to be the attempt. And I'll get this thing mocked up in the car maybe in the next couple of days, and some type of MOLLE enclosure built around it. So that'll be coming up next. All right, Monday morning, we've got the tank mocked up in the car. So you just use stuff to prop it up here, put some tape on the bottom so it don't scratch it. Got it pretty much in the position it's going to be. We're within a ½ degree of level front to back. Now the car's on the Pro Jacks, so it's about as level as it's going to get. I know it's going to have probably a little bit of rake whenever it's on the ground, but that's okay. So within a ½ degree, that's acceptable. So then we put a straight edge across the front of the turbo, or we just used a 4-foot level and then measured from the level to the 2 corners of the tank to make sure we're square with the front. And we are. And now it's time to get it mounted up, build the enclosure around it, and then put some tabs on it. So you can see we can still get to the downpipe locating tab right there beside of it. So let's start cutting some chromoly and get this thing mounted up. So now that I've got the tank in place, I've used a 1-inch chromoly tubing all the way around. Most of the time I use 1.25 inches, but the tree on the inside of the front end is really close to this front bar, and if I use 1.25 inches, it wasn't going to clear with where I've got to position the tank. So now that the tubes are around it, they're all tacked in place where they're not going to move. I'm going to go around and put the mounting tabs on the tank itself. Now how I usually do this is, well, I'll show you. We've got these little laser cut tabs here that we get for various things. We send them out with some of our production items that we sell. They've got a 3/8 hole in them. They actually are about twice this long, but I've cut these in half, so they'll be a little bit shorter. Take these, and I got a socket head cap screw here, 3/8, with an aluminum weld bung from Race Part Solution. These are 3/8 16 threads in them. So I take these, I put the tab on like that, and I just put it up to the tank, let it rest against the tank itself. Well, here, I'll just show you. Hang on. Well, you can see here. Now just put the aluminum against the tank and slide it up until it touches the tube. So wherever I want those, that's what I'll do, and I'll take the welder and I'll tack that tab on both sides where it'll hold the aluminum bung against the tank. Once I've got all my mounting tabs in their location, I will, hard as crap with this stand on this camera to move it around. I'll come back around and tack all the aluminum threaded bungs on the tank in their positions as well, enough where they're not going to move. Then I'll unbolt the tank, bring it out, take it over on the bench and weld all the way around the aluminum. And then obviously while the tank is out, I'll go around here and weld up all these joints on this enclosure, and then I'll put it back in and it'll be done. And that's kind of the process I go with mounting these tanks up. That way you're basically mocking up everything and tack welding it in place on the car. That way you don't have to make any marks, any measurements. It is what it is, and you're basically just finishing the weld once you get it out of the car. Another thing to consider, the way I've got this built, I'm gonna design it where the tank has to drop out the bottom. Of course, you'll have to take the downpipe off to get the tank out, but all these mounting tabs will be hid under the bottom side. And that'll make it look nice and clean on the top instead of having the tabs up here in the front where you can see them. You'll still be able to see them on the bottom, but they won't be as you know, gaudy looking. So that's what I'm going to do. All the tabs will be on the bottom, but being that, you'll have to drop it out the bottom. So just pay attention to the way you orient your tabs, because if you put tabs on top and bottom and you've got an enclosure as tight as I do around this, then you're not going to be able to get the tank out. So let's go ahead and get these on and finish this job up. Put 2 tacks on every tab, and then I welded maybe 1/4 inch around every aluminum bung. Before you take anything off, it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and weld across the face of your tabs. That way when you're taking stuff off, you don't risk
bending them or getting them out of position and then trying to figure out where they went without having to put all this stuff back together. Just do all you can before you have to take it apart, and then that's less you have to figure out later. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld these up. So everything on the fuel tank is welded up now. What I didn't show on the video because the battery was going dead, go figure, I capped these ends off just so they're not open, just like they are on the end of the frame rails. I know with our tubular front kits, we put these little plastic tube caps in the package for customers to pop in there and just cap off the end of them so stuff don't get up in there whenever they're done welding everything up. But I think it turned out pretty good. Like I said, they're going to be cutting the feed in whenever they decide where they want it to come out on the bottom. I know a lot of things is still yet to be figured out on this car, so they didn't want to get too far ahead just in case they had to change something. I did go back and drill these tab holes one size bigger, all of them, because welding 8 different locations, the stuff moves just a little bit and I didn't want it to be really hard to get the bolt in. So went ahead and stretched them one size bigger with the drill bit. That pretty much wraps it up for the fuel tank. one more thing I have to do, I have to put these bungs in for the injectors. Got 2 more, it's going right there. They finally came in, and I have to remake this bar that I cut out in the tree to go kind of around the turbo, so it's not so it doesn't allow the tree inside the front end to flex any whenever they're taking it on and off. And after that, Slick Rick is wrapped up. I'll probably do one more video when we get it off the quick jacks, just showing everything that's been done to the car while it's been here, just an overview, and then get the nose on and get John and them over here to pick it up. And then you'll have to continue following over on the LS Nasty channel as they go through all the rest of the stuff to get this thing up and running. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video.